Hello and welcome to this AMBA and BJ webinar, which is on a case study in a unique teaching partnership in association with Birmingham Business School and Deloitte, who were the winners of our Best Partnership Award at our Excellence Awards this year. I'm Ellen Buchan from AMBA and BJ. I'm really looking forward to an hour of interesting insight, and shortly I'll hand over to our panel to introduce themselves. But before I do, some housekeeping. We want the session to be as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, just add them to the question box for us to answer live at the end of the webinar. And if you do miss anything, don't worry, because the recording and the slides will be available in the post-event comms and on the AMBA and BG websites within a week. So if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Sorry about that. So I'm Andrew Miles. I'm Corporate Relations Manager here at the University of Birmingham Business School.
Good afternoon, Alex Kayrook. I'm a partner at Deloitte based in Birmingham, work across the whole UK.
Hello everybody, I'm Paul Lewis. I'm co-director of the Centre for Responsible and Sustainable Business at Birmingham Business School.
Perfect. So do you want to tell us how the partnership began and what its objectives were?
I suppose it's effectively 13 years ago now. We were looking at the MBA programme and looking at how we could enhance it to ensure that our MBA students were getting as much exposure to industry as possible. One of the things that was coming through a lot was that many of our MBAs wanted to move into consultancy after their MBA. They were developing, obviously, their theory on top of their professional career backgrounds while they were on the programme, but we felt actually what they needed was those actual consultancy skills which an external consultancy could give them. A number of our students were also going through dissertation projects where they actually carry out part of their dissertation as a consultancy project for organisations. So we also wanted them to gain specific training on that. We looked at what companies had been employing the MBA over the years. Deloitte was one of them. They were even starting to put some of their associates through onto our exec MBA. So we spoke to Deloitte and floated the idea with them. They were very keen to work with us to develop something, perhaps at that stage, not a whole week's training, but something whereby they interacted with the MBAs. And we also had a partner from Deloitte on our advisory board at the time, Jane Lodge. We took the idea to her and she agreed to champion it as partner as an entire week's consultancy training programme, which would be immersive in the sense that Deloitte would come in and teach consultancy skills, and our students would actually carry out a consultancy simulation during the week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also fair to say, Andrew, that it's evolved over the time that we've been running the programme. So what began as very much about an insight into consultancy and some development of skills that could be applied both in the workplace but also in a project-based dissertation. As we've broadened the programme to not just be for the full-time MBA but also for the distance learning and executive MBAs, it's become much more about, I think, about skills development overall. And still that insight into consultancy, because students are always interested in what is it like to actually be a consultant? Is this something that I might move into?
Yeah, and I think that's been part of the excitement of doing this has been, while we primarily designed it for the full-time MBA, by now it's inviting the exec MBAs onto it, and even our distance learners to fly in from all over the world to actually join the programme. The MBAs as a whole really benefit from meeting each other. And actually getting to form new teams that they wouldn't have with their own cohort during the year. And then you guys get to come in and meet them all.
Yeah, I think from our point of view at Deloitte, there's probably a couple of things. One is, Birmingham University is on our patch. We have a strong relationship with both the business school and the university at large, which we value highly. I'm the third partner to take a lead on this particular programme. Jane Lodge, as Andrew said, started this many moons ago, handed it down to Gus, I only handed it to myself over time. We really put a lot of value into this in terms of our objective is to build that partnership. we are a firm that's built around collaboration and what can we get together as a group and what can we achieve collectively. I think the other thing for us is that it's really helpful for our people to get to spend some time with your students and understand their experience, their backgrounds, and they really value the opportunity to impart their knowledge and their insights and their experiences. And it's a two-way thing for us. It's not a Deloitte coming in and, you know, taking control and teaching, here we go. It's an immersive experience for everyone to take something out of the course, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that immersion also is a way, it's a means of sort of finishing the program for the full-time MBA. It acts as a capstone where they get to apply knowledge that they've learned over the duration of the MBA in a really authentic situation. And we'll talk a bit more about the structure of the week, I think, as we go through.
So, how do Deloitte and the University of Birmingham work together as a partnership to design and deliver the programme?
So I'll probably get going on that one. So I think there's a couple of things. The course itself over the week is a combination of sessions around teaching and role plays, but it's underpinned by a case study that collectively ourselves and the university have designed, refined, and constantly look to improve over time. And that is where we anchor the course in. It has to be built around a scenario that really helps the students focus onto something as a client team. We have spent a lot of time both reflecting on the course ourselves as a group, the three of us, over the last 4 or 5 years. COVID was a challenge. And we've also spent some time really understanding the student feedback, because that's important to us, to make sure they're getting some value and some enhanced learning as a result of that time away from it. And equally, I will spend time with the Deloitte guys to say, what did you think worked and what didn't work as well? What really got the students engaged into what was a practical set of skills they can improve on. I think the last thing for me is that the most exciting bit of the course, in my opinion, is the role plays. Is a simulation that really gets the energy going. We have to put a lot of effort from the Deloitte side, and it feels like from your side as well, getting this to work properly, and we'll spend a bit of time explaining that shortly, how it all comes together. But there's an immense amount of effort from everybody to make sure that this is as real as we can make it for the students, to feel like what it's like to work as a management consultant facing difficult or challenged or fragile or stressed clients, how to act in that particular way and get some value out of that so they can really take their learning on to the next level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think again, it's something that has developed and evolved over time. So very much initially we were thinking about, well, what are the key consulting skills that ideally you want a student to at least understand and have a sense of. And initially that was the way that we engaged with Deloitte. It's like, let's design some sessions. Deloitte people will lead those sessions.
Yes.
We've always had in mind that this is linked to a simulation. And so everything that is delivered in the classroom becomes a piece of active learning then for the students to apply, and it all is designed to build through the simulation to the end recommendations that the students deliver as a consulting team. And so there's a lot of role play and character development, both for the students and for the Deloitte people that are engaged in the sessions during the week.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, you know, when we have a collective review, the three of us, and get together in sort of just after Christmas and reflect on we've eaten too much food, we will then spend a little bit of time saying, what do you want to do differently this year? And if you take this year as a perfect example, we want to put a bit of effort and energy into sustainability, which wasn't dealt with last year, but is considered a really hot topic, big agenda item. We wanted to thread that into the course. So it's what you guys wanted to get that, to give your students some value, and how we can bring some of our subject matter expertise into the week to really help the students understand how we use it, not just here's sustainability, but how it threads through the thinking of trying to work out what the client is looking for from that particular aspects. There's a constant seeking of improvement, or what is important, and that might change next year or the year after. I think we're all comfortable being honest with each other about that, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just so you have a picture of how the program works, as we've said, it's a week long. The students arrive on the Monday morning, have breakfast with Deloitte, meet with the Deloitte folk, and then Alex, as championing partner, opens the program, and his team take our students through various project scoping exercises, talk to them about the nature of consultancy, give them some gold nuggets in that, and then get them working on various activities. And that afternoon, they begin on the consultancy scenario that threads throughout the week. And then that kind of continues in that sort of vein throughout the week, where you have Deloitte largely delivering the training in the morning, and the students very much focusing on the consultancy case in the afternoons. But Paul will go into this in more detail, I expect, later. But there are those touch points, as Alex has said, whereby the students are meeting their client, who are played by Deloitte, and then eventually delivering their solutions back, which are to the client, which are played by 3 partners, and that's on the Friday. And throughout that period, that means they're meeting different people from Deloitte every day, either actually delivering the training to them direct, or meeting members of Deloitte who are playing the client. So by the end of the week, they've probably met around 15 to possibly even 20 members of Deloitte this year.
Yeah, very proud. A lot of time commitment, but we are very supportive of this initiative.
Great, thanks, Alex.
So what do you consider to be the most different and innovative elements of the program? How does it stand out from others?
Okay, well, I'll start with this one. I think so. The first and foremost, it's designed to be immersive. So as Andrew and Alex have sort of intimated, the students are expected to get into character as a consulting or a series of consulting teams from 8 o'clock when it kicks off with a breakfast meeting and briefing. We design a whole range of materials that support that immersion, and as I mentioned, it's a simulation through the week. We've had various cases over the years that we've designed and then improved and then changed as we felt that they've become dated. But currently we run it around the idea of a merger integration for a soft drinks manufacturer. And where we can, we use real materials, real accounts, real reports from the companies that we're looking at. We then, I think what's also quite innovative about this program is some of the set pieces that we build into the week that work with the skills training that's going on. And maybe if you could share the slides, Alan, we've got some visuals that maybe help to explain some of this. Okay, so if we go to the next one. So I think we've got to the end. Okay, so if we go, so on the first day, we have, as Andrew was saying, there's a lot of emphasis on core consulting skills about project scoping, project planning, understanding the client and what the project's actually about. And we tend to focus in one main lecture room with everybody. But even those sessions are not purely didactic. It's very interactive, getting the students to work on exercises, but we do it all together. If you go to the next slide.
Right, I think what you can see that's slightly unusual about that morning is you start in a traditional horseshoe lecture theatre where you think you're just going to be watching the presenter all morning, but actually you end up going to all 4 corners of the lecture theatre. So people are getting up, moving around, even from the word go, really.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. So we go to the next one. And so this one, we break the students into groups of 4 or 5 in each group and around 6 groups. And so and that's when they work as a team on the simulation. And so from the first afternoon, we've got them doing that. They've been given a lot of pre-preparation material. It's just been launched over the weekend to them. We dropped material in during the week that adds complication, adds extra parameters into it. So there's this real sense of active learning, of applying what they're doing.
And you can see they've all got their own team room there,
Yeah.
which they have. That's their team room throughout the week to work from.
I think just before we move over one side, important for us to reflect on in that first day or two, while we'll spend some time giving some sort of core training in how to write a scope, how to do research into the client industry. A lot of the work up front is actually around how to work as a team.
Yeah.
It's hugely important for us to make sure the students actually treat each other equally. It's also important that they reflect on where their strengths and weaknesses are. Some might be better at research, some might be better at presenting, some are better at analysis, some might be better at putting documents together. And we want everyone to feel comfortable in that environment so everyone gets the best out of it. And I think what's also important in that picture there is that our expectations are the students are having those frank and honest discussions with each other early on, so they're super clear how they all want to work as a group, because if you don't do that at the start, you can sometimes get the case where one or two students might take sort of more dominating role in their team, and that can set that team off in a bit of a tangent. So we'd like to spend a little bit of time, get it right up front, you're all working together. That's how we work as a team. There's no dominant voice in the room, everyone's got a different input and insight to add to make sure we're treating each other equally. That helps frame how they're going to work as a pretend Deloitte team to tackle the exercise collectively in readiness, I suppose, for the first sort of simulation, really.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's a really good point, Alex, because a lot of the week is also about reflection and development of softer skills as much as it's about hard analytical skills and the solution. Ultimately, there isn't a right solution to this exercise, so it's about the process that students go through and then how they justify the recommendations that they're making. I wanted to talk a little bit then about some key kind of set point events that we have during the week. So I think that these are quite innovative as well. So we could jump to the next one, please. So we run what we call a boardroom simulation in the middle of the week, which is where the students have a defined interview period of 20 minutes with a team of Deloitte consultants who are playing the merger integration team of Coca-Cola. And so we work quite heavily to make this a role play by scripting each of the characters on the merger integration team, and that includes the relationships between them, what their pet loves, hates, ambitions are. So we try to create a real dynamic in the room, and we use that session firstly for the students to really prepare what is it they want to know that's going to help them with their solution, but also on the actual interview skills themselves. So how do we go about as a team making sure that we ask what we want to know, but making sure that we observe and interact in a way that's dynamic, that allows us to get the insights that we want. And we design it in a way that if they ask better questions, they get prompted to get nuggets of information that help with the solution that they might recommend. If they don't ask good questions, those pieces of information stay with the merger integration team. So I think that, again, that's something that we've worked on hard over time, and it really works well now.
And I think, I mean, it's worth noting, you can see in that photograph there, you've got a whole team of Deloitte playing the different members of the mergers and acquisitions team. So the ops director, the CEO, the HR function, etc. And I think sometimes when the students go in, they think, so we're interviewing our client to find out our client's view on X, forgetting that actually the HR director may have a very different view on X from the CEO or from the IT director. So the students start to recognize those tensions between the different members of their client and start to realize, okay, so if this isn't a matter of us just going in to find out what they want and how we can give it to them, it's about us actually also trying to find a solution that's going to work for all parties, or at least that we can bring everybody on board onto the journey when it comes to our solution. So they start to understand the intricacies of consultancy much better, not least because of how Deloitte play this. I mean, I think you guys quite enjoy this moment.
Yeah, I think just to add, it's a good point, Andrew. I think there's a couple of things here. If you look at that picture, one, we try and make sure the personalities of the individuals from Deloitte are a mixed bag. So in that group there, you've got very classic drivers, i.e. people who want to be quite demanding, pushing for solutions by their own personalities. We've got innovators and pioneers who are constantly challenging themselves to look for new ideas and new ways of working. You've got a couple of people in there who are drawn to data and detail. And then finally, you've got a couple of people, one person in there who's more of an empathy guardian. He's looking for everyone to be comfortable with something before we move on to the next issue. So by putting different personality types, the students are getting the full spectrum of the client's personality types themselves. It's not a bunch of alpha-driven individuals. It will be people with different backgrounds and perspectives. That's my first point. My second point is that, just to answer Andrew's observation, yes, the Deloitte team love to do this day. It's a really, really good day. And you've got people who've come from all parts of the country. Two of those on that table have come up from London. One has come down from the Lake District, one's from Sheffield, and one individual did an MBA here, an executive MBA at Birmingham University, who's passionate about coming back to help the university. So we are supremely invested into making this a really exciting day.
And Deloitte are quite happy in terms of playing the characters to argue with each other.
Yeah.
And again, suddenly for the student team, it becomes very real when they realize, oh my goodness, our client are now disagreeing before our very eyes. And we've got to manage this process and diplomatically continue with the interview whilst not directly cutting across or interrupting one of them, etc. So yeah, it really brings, I always say to the students, after Wednesday, this is going to feel very, very real, and you will feel very driven to delivering a really successful solution come Friday.
Yeah. And that sort of brings us to the second purpose of this exercise. If you could maybe go to the next slide. You can see from this one, so this is now the student side of the room. We're filming both sides simultaneously. What that enables us to do then is use the session afterwards to very quickly edit it and use the material afterwards as a form of skills review, because there's nothing better than being able, in a facilitated way, to go through how did you actually perform. Looking back on this now, how were you acting when somebody was asking that question? Were you aware of all of the responses, the body language, the way that the other side of the table was reacting? So we go through, keep moving on the slides. I think we might get some more views of this.
So if I just say here, what you can sort of see is we've almost turned our boardroom into a TV studio, where you really have got cameras from both sides, really excellent sound in the middle. So what the students experience later has been really professionally put together. And I'll hand back to Paul, but the point that he's making is we film them from both sides and literally live edit it while it's happening. We have a team do that here so that they can be watching it back afterwards. So hand back
yeah. So then if you go to the next one, please. So then in the afternoon, after we've run all of these separate group interview sessions, a member of the board, so a member of a Deloitte person who's played a character in that session, will then sit with a team and go through a university challenge style video.
So what you're seeing on the screen is what they see. They see themselves interviewing the client, and they see the client being interviewed all on the same screen, with the real purpose of that being they may have felt that they'd got a terrific rapport with the person in the middle, and who's leaning in and looking at them, and they're thinking, gosh, we really did well with them. If you look at the person on the end, they've disengaged because they don't feel they've been, considered in this, and their opinion no longer matters. And you can't really tell the students that happened. They have to see it for themselves. And That's the real value of this. It's not just them analysing what they did well or what they felt they did well. It's them seeing where they've missed a trick, etc.
These really helpful. Go to the next one because you can see them observing. So you just flip
Yeah,
forward one slide. There you go.
Okay. So yes, that's an example of in each of the groups, they're now watching the playback. The facilitator is able to start and stop, discuss key moments. It's very much a peer reflection as well, because the students are actively engaged in talking about why things went the way they went, what were they thinking, what were they feeling. It's really powerful. It's much more powerful than any classroom session can be, that kind of active learning.
Yeah, I think we call it the match the day bit for Deloitte, because you get to pause, press play, and then you've got control of the remote, and you've got the screen up, and you can then pause it if someone's yawning or looking at their watch for some very ploddy stuff. But you can also go through some interesting questions of the way they're framing the questions to get the client to open up a bit more, and then pause and getting the students to understand why that was important, and then them really getting some energy behind that to see they've actually built and understand their skill set. That's quite powerful for us, and it's a hugely good tool because it really brings everyone together. It helps them collectively think about how they're going to then work as a team onto the next sort of set of challenges. So I think this is a really good example of one of your earlier questions around how we've looked to design and deliver the program. This wasn't something we originally did. This is University of Birmingham being very creative and put a lot of effort and energy into how do we make this and take it further than it was before, Andrew.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we always did the board interview with them interviewing their client, and we always did some feedback afterwards, but without filming it. What it meant was quite hard for students to take feedback where you say, well, earlier on, one of the things you did was, no one wants to hear that, and they can't really picture what you're talking about at that moment, and it can feel very critical, and we don't want this to land critically on students. So being able to see it for themselves is tremendously valuable, because what we don't want to do is dwell on the negative. What we want to do is immediately focus in on, well, how could you have opened that question up? Yeah, because it was a closed question, you didn't get it where you needed it to go. How could you have probed? And actually, largely what ends up happening is because the students see exactly where they went wrong, they're the ones to self-critique that bit. And the Deloitte facilitator is usually actually pointing out, well, this bit went well, and sort of actually upping their confidence as well. And what I can say from being one of the people who's outside of those rooms and always there when they start coming out after literally 2 hours of going through this with their own Deloitte facilitator is the students are absolutely buzzing from it. And they always tell me this was one of their favourite parts of the programme.
Yeah. We'll just talk a little bit then about the back end of the week, and then we'll move on. So can we have a look at the next slide, please? Okay, so the students then use what information they get from that boardroom session. They have some training on presentation skills and some tricks around that as well. And then they basically spend the remainder of the penultimate day, late into the evening, usually developing their solutions. And we make them develop or present their solutions in a way that isn't traditional. So rather than using PowerPoint, we make them develop a paper-based placemat, an A3 size placemat. They can use both sides, but their solution can be any kind of graphic or cut up of that piece of A3. And then they sit down with 3 Deloitte partners playing members of the Coca-Cola exec who have to decide whether or not to go with the solution. The student teams have to split. So they split themselves as to who is presenting and who is answering questions. And we do that to make sure that everybody is engaged fully in the presentation part of the week. The Deloitte partners who are playing the client do 10 minutes. So it's 10 minutes of presentation, 10 minutes of Q&A, all in character. And then finally it's skills feedback for 10 minutes with each group. And all of the groups watch all of this process throughout the Friday. And again, this is, you know, it's kind of as real as we can make it in the constraints of the week. But it works really well. And by the time, you know, that they get into presenting their solutions for the students, it's real, it feels real.
Yeah, I think so. On the day before this, we've given the students, from our point of view, so like training in how to create exciting content and presentation formats for the placemats, how to make your 10-minute presentation where we don't talk as a Deloitte team, they just present on their own, how to make that engaging and exciting for the listener, and then a bit of training and examples of how to respond well to Q&A, not just the base of looking in the eye, but also to make sure you're answering the exam question to really build up that energy in the room. From our point of view, again, just to sort of reflect on a couple of things, you've got 3 partners from the Deloitte side there, and we all have slightly different personalities. One of those 3, I won't say who, is very, very detailed and wants to get under the skin of that detail. That's their natural position. Another one is very driven and very, very loud and wants to have their voice heard, so that personality comes through. Another one's sort of more pioneering and looking for what's new and exciting. So we're trying to get it into a perspective that they're not just facing, again, that sort of pale boardroom. It is a more of a modern boardroom of what they start to feel like, and therefore being able to respond to those kind of questions rather than, oh, it's all about profit and margin, makes the students think a bit more broadly in their solutions, which I think is a bit more interesting and powerful and reflects what our clients are saying to us at the moment. Andrew, you put a lot of effort into this. You might want to add a bit there.
Well, I suppose, I mean, it's important to say that yes, I mean, to build on what you're saying about the different approach of how the 3 partners play their client executive role. We do make sure that they're briefed, of course, on the case itself, so that they really can drill into it. And certainly one will be probing into the finance to ascertain whether the students have at least identified what is the cost of investment, when is the return going to be. Another will be looking at the operation and the implementation of this. And we do make sure that one is also looking into the ESG element of this and what are the considerations around ESG for the client in this instance. And that's very important to us in terms of our responsible business focus as a business school. But I would also, just to add to that, naturally, MBAs are professionals in their own right when they join us, and most of them have had a minimum of 5 years experience. Some of our distance learners have had 15 to 25 years experience. So we really want to make sure they're not getting it's not about work experience like it would be for an undergraduate. We want them to get a very real world experience. So when you have a company, a global company like Deloitte, one of the big 4, thousands of employees all over the world, and when you think about the most senior of those employees are the partners, they have a whole day with those 3 partners. They experience what it would truly be like delivering a client solution to the actual executives of a large company. They get that real feeling, but also then they get the advice of those partners afterwards.
Yes.
So that level of advice as an MBA student from pretty much the most senior people that we can put in front of them is incredibly valuable. It's certainly what they came to do the MBA for. And of course, it also opens up their network.
Massively.
Okay, I think maybe there's one more slide, which just this, that's sort of just the, you know, after it's all finished, after the pain, there's then some relief. But yeah, it's they are exhausted by the end of the week, and to be honest, so are a lot of us.
Yeah. But it's good. I mean, to look at the students' face at the end, they get a certificate from us. They get that moment, and they'll go onto LinkedIn, bless them, to put their pictures up, which is very sweet. And then it is a nice sort of moment for all of us to say, well done. And we will take a couple of students for a little drink to celebrate what has been a hard week. And as Paul said, on the Thursday the night before, they were burn the candle both ends. I think you 2 were delivering pizzas to them this year. I told them all be in bed at 9, 10 o'clock, eating healthy dinner and get up and go for a walk. None of them listened to me. Pizzas until midnight, and then came in eating starch food in the morning, but they work so hard, they put so much effort into it, and whilst it might be a daunting thing for them, and it is an artificially controlled environment, it is as close as you're going to get to being that nervous tension of sitting in front of a client with a set of recommendations and thinking, have I done the best I can? And in most cases, the students have. They've really performed so well because they've worked together as a team, listened to the ideas and developed a solution collectively, and not had one or two individuals dominating and pushing through their agenda.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think probably that's the end of those, and we've covered a lot of the what are the innovative elements in the program.
Thank you so much. And it looks like such an amazing thing for the students to do. But what does Deloitte and its people derive from partnering on this consultancy challenge? And how does it value the wider partnership?
Yeah, I think probably touched on a bit of this already. At a broader Deloitte point of view, I think this is a fantastic relationship. We've put a lot of effort into this. I can pick up some tactical points. One is, we have looked to put our students into this exact MBA. They fed back how brilliant the course itself is. I think we've put a lot of effort into making sure we work as a partnership. There's different initiatives and technology innovation stuff that we're working collectively on that boards out of those conversations we've had. I think we also like to run other courses with your students, so the undergraduates for the responsible business course, where we can support a local university and champion it, we will look to do that. I'm a former alumni, long time ago. Okay, and so there's a personal investment from myself as well, and equally being open and candid. I made my journey to partner whilst doing this course. I've been doing it about 8 or maybe 9, 10 years, and I've Andrew's 14 years, and I've moved from sort of a senior managing director to partner, and you two have been a sounding board for me, my development as well. So it's a partnership that works best where you can be trusting of each other and have honesty about what's working for the course and what's working for each other individually. So on a personal level, there's a huge amount of investment into this. From a Deloitte point of view, we want to do well and stand shoulder to shoulder with the strong performing organisations in the region, and Birmingham University is one of those organisations.
And to kind of flip that question to the other side, what does the University of Birmingham Business School and the students get from the week in kind of like a wider view?
Well, I think firstly, what the MBA students get out of this cannot be understated. The opportunity to be trained in consultancy by Deloitte for a whole week, taking it right up to partner level and getting that training, but also getting that advice and being able to ask questions is absolutely incredible. And of all the things that we do, it always gets the best feedback from our MBA students. We get detailed feedback from them every year, so we've got lots of qualitative comments that we can use across all of our marketing. Really assures and validates what we're doing for them. But I mean, what I hear so much year after year is this has been the best thing on the MBA. So certainly for us, we get that. We get a real enhancement to our MBA program. But of course, we also get the opportunity, as Alex has said, to actually build what we do here. I don't think we would have identified a way to marry industry and teaching in this way without actually the two-way discussions we've had every year about how to enhance this. And then the wider relationships. So the fact that as of 4 years ago, we launched a responsible business challenge for the undergraduate students. That's been excellent. But we've also had all sorts of discussions that have fed into life sciences research and other activities that we're doing. So what it feels like to me is we've got a partnership which involves the MBA challenge, but actually spreads much further than that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think another thing that we're quite interested to explore, which we're going to do, is go back to earlier cohorts that have been through the challenge and see how it's influenced maybe career choices, or how skills and learning from it have been used by the students in their careers. I think that will give us another kind of rich vein of insight into kind of longer term benefits maybe that it's providing.
Yeah, I think just to add to bring those two questions together, I think the other dynamic here is that our people do love partaking in the course. They want to take time out of their days, very busy days, to help refine the content and the style and how it will play through, not just by being here in person, but also spending time to think about what would work best for that particular day itself. And I think we never struggle to have enough applicants for this course. A couple of years you've had too many, and so we've run smaller events for the ones that didn't quite make the cut, because we want to make sure we can put some effort into every student that's shown interest in this particular. And equally, we never struggle to get people to volunteer to take parts from all parts of the UK fully. So I think it works best because we're open and honest with each other, and those sessions that we have in January, February is a culmination of just shut the door, let's work together, let's make this one better than last year. It's striving to be like that, really.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was an excellent move on to my next question. So how do you keep the program fresh, and like what are your plans for the future and of the program and of the partnership in general?
So if I take that on the program side, so as has been sort of intimated, we get very detailed feedback from each cohort. We go through a process of sort of incremental innovation critique every year, and that starts with the kind of are the consulting skills stable that we're trying to give. So a big change has been use of analytics, use of AI, and the way that Deloitte itself has changed over time. So this year we ran some of the skill sessions reflected the changing structure and technical skills of Deloitte as an organisation. So that's one thing that we do. We always look to tighten the scenario and the simulation. We tend to keep once we've built a scenario, which is a mix of a factual corporation with some fiction, clearly, we try to refine that over a few years, working out where there are aspects of it that didn't quite work as we'd anticipated. And so we're sort of towards the sort of second half, say, of the use of this Coca-Cola scenario. And in that, one of the things that we've really tried to push is sustainability and responsibility, and can we get the students to come up with creative ideas in their solutions that are around those. I think there's definitely more space to frame it in a way that gets more creativity out of them, more innovation. But then periodically we completely design a new simulation, a new case. And so probably in a couple of years, we'll be looking to do that. And that is another way of trying to keep it really fresh.
I mean, I would say, Paul, having been involved in this right from the beginning, has been an incredible part of making sure that the learning outcomes always marry up with what we're intending to do. But we've also been able to bring in others. So this year, we reached out to another of our academics to look at the ESG side of it and just challenge us a little bit more as to how we bring those steps in. But also we have a large advisory board here at the business school. We've brought in one of our people on the advisory board who himself advises Whitehall, a guy called Mark Stone, and he has again sort of met with us and almost done a sort of facilitation with us and said, okay, so you're bringing this to the table, you're bringing that to the table, and how do we take that even further?
I agree, and we shouldn't downplay Mark. He's been instrumental in driving the quality of the case and the work independently of both Deloitte and the University of Birmingham. I think from our point of view, Deloitte was incredibly proud to be nominated with the University of Birmingham for the Partnership Award for AMBA and BGA. It was a brilliant day out, and then cherry on the ice cream on the cake kind of jar when they announced the partnership as the winner. we were the noisy ones on the side of the room if anyone else is watching and wondering who we were. We were the rowdy ones on the side, unfortunately. It was a lovely day. It was a culmination of really bloody hard work from everybody. But it doesn't mean that you stop there. And, you know, as I said, at the end of the course, Friday a few weeks ago, we just finished this year's intake. Let's see to try and improve from last year, and we will do the same year in, year out. And yes, you've mentioned, Paul, a couple of things that are really important for us around AI, automation, digital, and how we can play those insights from our experiences back to the students in a practical way that works in that environment, is an accelerated environment as well, I should add, in 1 week. But the other things are how we can potentially look at trying to bring in a client, an actual client, into that environment that would help give the students their point of view of what they're looking for from a consultant, and how they interact with them and what they get value they get out of them, to help the students think independently of what we're telling them. Is the kind of things that we're constantly playing around with. But I think, you know, I said at the start of the earlier question, it is anchored in a good case study. We have to get that right, because from there that controls the learning and the ability for the students to actually develop and enhance their skills. And get that bit right, we will always look to add flavour to make it interesting and engaging throughout the week, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. You kind of touched on the awards there, so maybe selfishly from MBJ's point of view, I'd love to know if you had any tips on the awards, for how you won it, and also if it just had any, like, winning the award had any impact on the program itself and how you kind of used that win for the program.
I mean, I think obviously we were excited when it was suggested we should put in a nomination for the award, and we obviously looked at the questions very carefully, and it became very clear to us that as such a holistic program, which has been done in such partnership, there was a clear opportunity for us to win this. And I think what we drew out of it was not only how we designed the program, but how we'd worked so hard on the partnership. This wouldn't work without friendship, continuity, and trust. If we'd have each moved on each year and just handed it to someone else, the passion for it wouldn't have built. And as the trust to innovate in the way you've just described, Alex, wouldn't be there, because it does involve us having to say, actually, you know, we didn't feel this bit worked so well, can we build on it? And it's involved Alex also being able to say to us, I know you want to take it in this direction, but consultancy is now moving in this direction. We've got to reflect that in what we're training the students to do. And I hope we were able to convey that when we put it forward for the award, and it appears we did.
I think also it acts as an external validation as well on what we're doing. So, you know, it's something that we believed in for a long time. We've developed, evolved it, refined it, improved it. And the students always tell us, you know, what it means to them. But it is nice to get feedback from the external community, you know, that actually when somebody looks at it with fresh eyes, they think it's something, you know, that's valuable and that's something to be celebrated. So I think that's really, really powerful for us as well.
Yeah.
I think to answer the question, I mean, when you're filling in the application form, it's been really clear what, you know, I'll get into my Deloitte hat now. What are your win themes? How are you going to win that particular award? And I think there's a lot in here that we discussed today around that innovation simulation that gives it a differentiator to what would have been other nominations into that particular category. I think we spend an enormous amount of time putting value into this partnership, and we believe in it as well, and it's a genuine thing, and then that carries itself through, that it's not just a cursory thing. I think on top of that, we go into any environment to talk about this particular program with a lot of confidence, not just because the student feedback or Deloitte feedback or your own peer feedback, but you have other universities asking you about this course. While we were there this year, I think there was a couple of where was it, Poland or Hungary, or I can't remember, forgive me, who come in to see and observe the course. So you go in backing yourself, knowing the product is actually really, really strong. We don't rest on our laurels, and we know others are interested, and we can help others create something that's super interesting for all of us as a group. But knowing that we've got a really strong product gives you that confidence to put nominations in and go into environments knowing you've got a very good chance of excelling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it certainly means a lot to the students. I found that out this week when the students who've just been through the course, because we've just run it only 2 weeks ago, at least 5 of them have emailed me over the last weekend to say, we noticed that the nominations are open again. What do you want us to do so that you can win it a second time? I had to break it to them. I don't think you can put exactly the same nomination in again.
They just want to come along for the backside dinner. That's
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we're very grateful to AMBA and BGA recognising this partnership.
Thank you. I can tell you that there was very tough competitions, but I think that you guys very much deserve to win. So we had a couple of questions for the audience. We have a little bit of time to answer them. So someone's asked, have you had feedback from alumni from the course who've gone into jobs and been able to tell you that it's been helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I speak to our alumni all the time, particularly the ones that came through on this program, because I get to know them so well while they're here. And the first thing they always tell me is that they referred to it in the job interview. So it's actually really valuable in actually providing one of the answers to those, all important interview questions. And then secondly, it's amazing. I was speaking to one just the other day who said it was 10 years since I did the challenge, and I still reflect back now and bring some of the skills that I learned into that week. But also another of our MBA students who came on the program this year, who'd got, I think he's from Ireland, got 25 years experience. He said to me, that this has really shown to me, first, I need to smile more when I engage, and also has really demonstrated to me what I need to do to elevate my own negotiation skills with people. So we get a lot of feedback from people as to how it helps them, to the point whereby now we've realized we really need to pull that all together. We've got the contact details of every single student going back to 2010 when we launched this. So our intention is actually via LinkedIn to contact them all by the end of the year. So we'll be able to demonstrate that more holistically. But I think, as I say, being able to reference it in interviews as much as anything, which they all do, is really key.
Yeah.
I think probably just from our point of view, there's a couple of the students that have either joined Deloitte and then actually gone on to the course to do the exec MBA, and they've massively valued it, enjoyed it, and in their early years to get an understanding of building their network, frankly, more than anything else. I think the other way of looking at it is that there's been a couple of students that have done the course, and then a couple of years later they've then sort of applied for positions at Deloitte. That helps with their connections and networks to ourselves. We can get a sense of what the individual is like, but also they've gone and used those skills that we've trained them in another environment, and then been able to give us examples of how they've adopted and applied those skills when they've come through the interview stages at Deloitte. So I think it's we do use that feedback both live currently, but also from the alumni, be that ones that we've put through or ones that have come to us a few years after they've finished the course.
And there is that lovely full circle element to it. I mean, at least one of the Deloitte personnel who were project managing the program this year, she herself did our MBA, was on the consultancy challenge, got employed by Deloitte thereafter, and then now is part of the delivery. So
it's really nice.
Yeah.
And someone has asked what the main skills that the students say that they get from the course.
Yeah. I mean, from our point of view, we anchor it in probably 2 or 3 things. One is, I think, from the softer side of things, it is how to work as a team, and how to play on each other's strengths very early on. Throughout the course of the week, I think they're spending a lot of time on how to answer exam questions, how to really define and tighten their scope, and then building that into very detailed role plays around how to manage client meetings, good, bad, and ugly, how to handle difficult conversations with your clients. And then a lot of work at the end is in terms of the presentation, both the content and being in the room. But that's not to pay lip service to it. You can't just walk into a room and be a good presenter. They have to spend a lot of time taking all the information they've learned and how to digest it into a useful format for very senior executives being paid by Deloitte. So a sort of small piece of insight, it can mushroom into an actual strategy, and how they take that insight forward is hugely important for us. So listening and articulating client feedback into a solution is probably the thread that we're most interested in.
No, I'd agree. I mean, I think for me, I think the students take away what a consultancy approach looks like, whatever kind of project or activity that they're engaged in, and what that would entail. And I think they reflect on their softer skills, and they get a sense of, well, actually, where do I think I need to focus some effort, or where do I think, I'm really strong?
Yeah.
And the combination of that makes it quite a powerful week.
Perfect. Well, that's all the questions we've had, which is kind of great because that's pretty much 3 o'clock. So thank you so much. That's been absolutely fascinating, and I can completely see why you won our award. Just to say that our awards are now open, so if you'd also like to have a partnership that you think could win, please do enter. But yes, thank you so much. And the video of the webinar will be available in about a week's time and be sent to you. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.